Should we do that?
Very good. Play. We've got playing people now.
Share screen. Just thinking I'll go to this. Share the screen. I usually leave it like this, so we could do show grid. But you better show it like this, so you can do something like that. And then the screen will go out. Okay.
All right, Mr. Chair, we've got ourselves a quorum and welcome everybody to the April 25th, 2024 Ozark Region Transit Board Meeting. Go ahead and take it away, sir.
Okay, item number 1 on the agenda is the announcement of proxies. Do we have any proxies today?
Just the standing proxy for Mayor Lionel Jordan that goes to Mr. Nierengarten on a regular basis.
Okay, that sounds good. Item number 2 is the adoption of the agenda. Does anybody see any changes that need to be made to this agenda today? Hearing none, if there's no objection, I'll consider that adopted. Next up, we have the public comment period. Is there anyone in person or on Zoom that would like to make comment at this time?
Hi, I would.
Hi, can you state your name, please?
Yes, my name is Sarah Moore. I'm on the Fayetteville City Council in Ward 2. And I know that we had a change on our on-demand that we have paid fares. And there had been some programs, I think, put in place for some of our lower income ridership through the cities, and was hoping, I didn't see it in the packet, and if I missed it, I apologize, but I was hoping during discussion today that we might get an update on how that's working with the cities, or if we've had any feedback from the cities or any of the nonprofit organizations that work with this population on any hurdles or any barriers. And also would love to know what the access numbers are of the cities that are using those programs, please. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah. Joel, correct me if I'm wrong, but we will get into that later when we get to the ridership statistics, right?
Right, sir.
Okay. All right. So that will be a discussion item today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, items 4 and 5 kind of go hand in hand. Excuse me. 5 and 6. Okay, so next up we have the adoption of the February board meeting minutes. Are there any changes that anyone sees that need to be made to that? Okay, do I hear a motion to adopt those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. And if you could please state your name for the first and second, I would appreciate it.
That was Peter Nierengarten on the second.
Travis Dotson on the first.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, any opposed? All right, so the February meeting minutes have been adopted. It's items 5 and 6 that kind of go hand in hand. The executive committee meeting minutes and the ORT executive director performance evaluation. Joel, would you like me to take this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so on March 28th, we met in an executive committee, Joel, Peter, Zachary, and I, and we went over Joel's performance evaluation. We had several categories that played a part in this evaluation. Some of the organizational goals included things like quality of service. We agreed that Joel had met expectations for quality of service, and ORT only had 74.25 hours of service delays due to mechanical issues or driver call-outs. Joel, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that only accounts for 0.1% of our total operation time.
I believe it was 0.01.
0.01. Okay, so it is very, very minimal. Next up on organizational goals, we had fleet maintenance. The ORT's maintenance department has met its maintenance goals for the year. Public outreach. The public outreach team in our eyes had exceeded expectations and has grown exponentially over the year. They're reaching out to people on several fronts, and we were very impressed by that. Next up, we had performance factors. There were 6 of these, 3 core values and 3 core competencies. For integrity, we found that Joel had exceeded expectations for integrity. He's always kept ORT on the highest level for his dedication. Inclusiveness, let's see. Joel feels that he can improve by slowing down and considering perspectives from other employees and members of the public to allow for better communication. The committee on the whole felt like that he has met the expectation for inclusiveness. For innovation, Joel's always looking to make ORT better for both the public and the organization itself. And we all agreed pretty much that he had exceeded expectations for 2023. He's been doing a great job of finding solutions to whatever problems that we're facing. For communication, again, kind of to one of the last points, Joel feels like he needs to be able to slow down and communicate his thoughts and ideas and directions more effectively. But overall, the committee thinks that he met expectations on this. Financial responsibility. I think we all felt like the staff shows a high level of integrity when it comes to finances. The financial self-test that was performed last year went well, and there were really no other issues, so we thought that they exceeded expectations. For education and training, Mindy and Joel have decided to allocate more funds for training opportunities for employees in the 2024 year. They discussed the idea of providing proper training and education and have a succession plan in place in case anyone retires or just having employees there that know how everything operates in case of some unforeseen event. Some of the feedback the board was able to give, we kind of did our own self-reflection on this too. One of the questions was, what has the board done well? Joel is happy with the board structure and appreciates our support. He also appreciates that there's regular communication with board members from all the cities and counties represented. I felt that we have been more flexible and open to innovative ideas that have popped up. Peter thinks that the board is much more engaged than it has been in the past, and Zachary showed that we have a new emphasis on regional transit. It's one of the most positive changes over the years. Some things that we could do differently. Joel would like to see board members attend more of the events that ORT is putting on. Joel mentioned that the staff will start sending calendar invites for those. I know, like most people, I live by the Outlook calendar I have at work, so having meetings and events on there are something that really would help me, at least in attending some of these. I think that the board also needed to work on communication amongst ourselves, especially as some of the opportunities arise that don't allow for the executive director to participate. Some of those things being like a dedicated source of funding that we've been discussing in the near future. And some of the support needed from the board going forward. Joel wants the board to support obtaining that dedicated funding source and hopes to have something on the ballots within the next year or so, but that's something that the board will need to discuss amongst ourselves going forward. That was kind of the abridged version of the evaluation. Joel, did you have anything that you or your team wanted to add to it?
Nothing other than what was written in the document itself, and I do appreciate the opportunity to continue to serve for another year. I will take it year by year if you want me to, but I've got about a 15-year timeline left for myself here.
Okay, that sounds good. And since the executive director's report was really the only thing that we discussed in our executive committee, I can see, is there a motion to accept both the executive committee meeting minutes and the ORT executive director performance evaluation?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, so both the meeting minutes and the performance evaluation have been approved. Next up, we have the financial reports. Mindy?
All right, we have the March 24 financial notes, basically the first quarter of the year here. And in March, our revenue had an unfavorable balance of 3,000, but that was really just a few small things. That was our fare box revenue. We started back in March, but a few days late into the year. And also it's growing as the switches happen from people going free on ODT to paying a fare. And so I think that's why that was under a little bit. And then our contract revenue was under by 1,000 a month, but that was just a slight bit. But our expenditures had a positive variance of 22,000, so that more than made up for it. That was largely in parts, outside labor and fuel. The shop has been doing a great job of looking for parts and getting the best price available, so we've been able to keep that cost down. And then our fuel is still running below budget, but fuel is still always a wild card. We never know where that's gonna go, so that's good this year. So overall, there was a positive balance of 19,000 for March. And overall year-to-date, 97,000, which is mostly due to wages and fuel, which wages will come back up as we, in April, gave our cost of living increase. And then we added additional service starting in April. So that'll kind of start coming back up and matching. And then fuel, we'll just see how that goes throughout the rest of the year. But overall, doing very good for the first quarter. Are there any questions?
Okay, hearing no questions, that brings an end to the financial reports. Thank you, Mindy. Next up is the ridership stats. Kendall?
My normal report is in the packet, but I'll put together a little summary. I emailed out to most everyone this morning. Hopefully you got that. We'll kind of go over that. Just kind of some updated ridership. This is through last Friday, through April 19th, last Friday. It's just kind of a summary of where we were in 2023. We carried a little over 70,000 passengers. So far in 2024, we're up over 87,000 passengers, a 24% increase. Breaking down city by city, Fayetteville's at 42,417. They're up 43% of the previous year. Springdale, 26,312, up 35%. Rogers and Bentonville, 7190 and 9391. They're down a little bit, but that's mainly due to their on-demand ridership that we'll get into here in just a little bit on why it's decreased, but not having fixed routes that's established is why their numbers are down, why their percentage on that. And the 44% drop in the other category, that's a lot of that's the variable Carroll County ridership, 300 trips a month we're no longer doing. And last year at this time, we had two Route 490 vehicles running all day without a gap. Now we have one 490 with a 3 or 4 hour gap in the middle. So that's dropped some of the other category ridership to make it 44%. But still 87,407 through the first quarter, actually through last Friday, 24% increase of ridership overall. We'll jump into this little chart here that I made. This is also through last Friday. With the ridership through last Friday. In February, as before when it was still a free fare, the fares were implemented on March 4th. So February ridership is what we were doing before the fares. You can see we were doing 463 passengers a day. Federal was doing 130, 122 in Springdale, 94 in Rogers, 117 in Bentonville. We'll jump over here to March and see after the fares were implemented, Federal dropped to 82, Springdale from 122 to about 54, Rogers from 94 to 48, and Bentonville from 117 per day to 82 passengers per day. If you look at the, also in April, let me go ahead and do the passengers per day in April. Fayetteville staying consistent, 82 in the 80s. And Springdale around 52 still in April. Rogers and Bentonville dropped a little bit because they've gone from 3 vehicles to 1. Both cities both had 3 in March and they went to 1 as we converted those 2 others over to the BRX route, which we'll touch on here in a minute as well. So, but the per hour total in February, Federal's doing 12.1 for their 3 vehicles, 9.4 in Springdale, 11.7 in Rogers, 11.5 in Bentonville. With the fare implementation, it dropped to 7.8 per hour in Fayetteville, 4.4 in Rogers, 6 and 8 in Rogers and Bentonville. And then in April, it's staying pretty consistent, of course, but with them going from 3 to 1, Rogers and Bentonville, they've gone from 6 passengers per hour down to the 3, which is the 1 vehicle, and that's why it stays consistent per vehicle. So basically, all 4 cities are carrying between 3 and 4 passengers per day. Springdale a little bit less, but per hour. Yeah, 3 to 4 passengers per hour, which that's pretty consistent. That's pretty good. They're staying busy out there. And just some graphs kind of demonstrating what we just talked about up here in this. So.
And if I can just add on to that, to take a look at Rogers and Bentonville going from three vehicles each down to 1 vehicle each. We put if you look at the April passengers, there's 3 and 3.3 per hour total. And we do it a per vehicle total in both of those cities. And then jump back over to January per vehicle total. Our per vehicle total in Rogers and Bentonville did not drop all that much when we take a look at the overall percentage. And that is going from 3 vehicles down to 1 vehicle. I wanted to make sure that nobody got upset over the fact that it went from 11.5 per hour in Bentonville, for example, down to 3.3, because the per vehicle total is still relatively on track. When we look at Fayetteville and Springdale, there are some significant drops in both the total per hour and the per vehicle per hour. But one of the things that we actually recognized even as of this morning is that in Fayetteville and Springdale, our seat unavailable, which was previous months in the 30s and 40s at some point in times, is down to the 6 and 4%, which is by adding fares in the month of March, we were able to go ahead and significantly impact the quality of service. But of course, like Ms. Moore had mentioned earlier, that there are some people that adding fares to could have caused them to not obtain access to public transit. There's a couple of things that are out there for people that are having financial difficulties. Number one is all of the traditional fixed route are still 0 charge at the fare box. They don't have the curb to curb service that ODT offers. If they're having a financial difficulty. But one of the things that we've done is we've worked with the CDBG programs in each of the 4 cities and reached out to them. 2 of them have taken advantage of it, and that's Fayetteville and Rogers at this point in time, where as part of our service to the city and as part of the city's share, all the CDBG has to do is call and say, we would like some passes, and we will send them the paper passes. In Fayetteville, I believe in the month of March, we sent 100 passes to Springdale. Rogers, I don't believe we sent that many to them all at the same point in time. But we've told them in the CDBG programs, if you need more, call. Now, when it comes to nonprofit organizations, until you direct me otherwise, whether it be Seven Hills or Church of whatever or Food Bank of whatever, they are still being charged the $1.25 per ride. They can buy them in bulk and hand them out however they want to. As far as us tracking, we will track who we've sold them to. We will not track who they distributed them to. I just don't have the capacity to go ahead and do that on this end. So if you have a favorite nonprofit, have them contact us. We will go ahead and make sure that they get them, that they can purchase them. They can purchase them in 1-offs or 100-offs. But when it comes to the CDBG program and giving away passes through the city to people that are financially strapped, that is something that the CDBG programs can go ahead and track, because they're the ones that are looking at people's finances. I don't want to get into looking at people's finances. So I hope that answers the questions, Ms. Moore. But we're doing a really good job of increasing the quality of services, while at the same time, providing plenty of options, for people, whether they can afford the on-demand or cannot afford the on-demand, unless you guys have another direction that you want me to head.
Joel, do you know what kind of feedback we've been getting from any of our riders based on this increase? Have y'all received anything?
And I'll let Ms. Moore speak here in just a second, as soon as I answer this question. The biggest feedback that we've gotten, in the first 2-3 weeks, and it's still a little bit of trickle, is, and I'll pick a name, my Chime card isn't working. Because people are using a Chime card to purchase trips one at a time. And there's a few knockoff cards that are out there, pay per load cards that are out there. And what we typically do is we contact VIA and say, hey, please check on this brand of card, and they authorize that card to be used. We've had a few people say, hey, I never received my paper pass, and we go ahead and load their profile with a virtual pass. It's a voucher. What are we calling it?
E-pass?
E-pass. We're calling it an e-pass. So their profile will then go ahead and start tapping into the credits that are in their account, because they did not receive the paper pass. The biggest complaints have been just in initiating and carrying on the electronic form of payment, and those have dwindled significantly. And Ms. Moore, you had a question?
Thanks, Joel, for that update. I just didn't know, you may not have this information, but it just be something. I heard you say 100 passes, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, given to the city of Fayetteville to community services to use. Do you know how many of those have actually been provided and or requested for riders of the 100? Because I think you said they can come back and request more. I was curious how many had actually maybe been obligated at this time, if we had that number.
No, ma'am. Once they go out my door, in this case, it's Miss Fields, CDBG. I think she's the department head over there, if I'm correct. It would be her to indicate how many she's distributed.
Thanks, Joel.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, and maybe you covered this and I missed it, but have we had like a lot of purchases or any purchases, I guess, from Seven Hills, Salvation Army? Have they been requesting any?
I don't believe we've had a lot of organizations. I could double check with Angelina, our receptionist, but I don't believe we've had a lot of those large purchases from organizations yet. There may have been like 1 or 2 small ones, I believe, but so far, not a lot of those organizations have reached out to us that I'm aware of.
Any more questions?
So, yeah, I do have a question, Joe. This is Peter. If we do have organizations that are interested in getting the passes, best to just connect them directly with you all, or is there an online way of doing that? What are all sort of the methods of obtaining those passes? And are they all paper, or is there a way that they can be, let's see, you say you want to be blind to whom they go to, so it sounds like it would be difficult for you to direct them for the organization directly to an individual's account. Is that accurate?
So yes, sir, they are all paper. Answering the first question second, If you know of an organization, pick your favorite organization, have them contact me directly, and I'll walk them through how they can do it online. If they can do it through our ORT website. Now, if they choose not to do it through our ORT website, they can walk in with a check and, or a debit/credit card and pay for them here. Or they can say, hey, send me, X amount of passes and send me an invoice with them. We'll do that also. We've got a wide variety of ways to go ahead and work with the organizations. And yes, they are all, back to the first question that I answered, yes, they are all paper. We do have the capability of putting an e-pass on an individual's account. That requires us to actually go into the back door of the individual's account, put I think it's an 8-digit random code in there that is justified through VIA itself, and it has a value of $12.50 or $6, depending on whether it's a regular rider or a senior or person with disabilities. But anyways, it's 10 rides, regardless of what the dollar value is. And those are non-reusable, they're non-shareable from one account to another account. But me as a rider, if I have that $12.50 or 10 rides in my account, I can bring Kendall on board with me. And when I schedule the trip and say 2 riders, it will take 2 values of rides out of my account. So it'll take it from 10 rides down to 8 rides. But again, I don't know, I'm just sketchy about getting into people's real personal stuff, like their finances and their financial condition. If somebody can demonstrate that they are a senior or a person with a disability, that's as deep as I really want to get into people's personal lives, because my job is to provide transit to anybody who needs it or wants it in Northwest Arkansas, regardless of their station.
I would just tag on to say, yeah, that electronic purchase that through our website, it's just per person. We're just allowing like one person purchases passes, because it gets complicated when you're trying to say somebody purchases 10 passes and they want to put it on 10 different people's accounts. It gets very muddy and complicated. So at that point, we're just doing paper passes when it's in bulk at this point.
Yeah. Ms. Moore?
Your discussion kind of raised an additional question that I had, that I don't know if I need to just go to the individual cities to ask, is that I don't know, so going back to the folks that might have financial barriers to being able to purchase for on demand, and I believe, they're meeting certain income requirements is what it seems like for the program, but I wasn't quite sure how often they can access that program, or are there parameters being put on how many of the passes that they can have? Maybe that's city by city. Are there specifics like that somewhere policy wise for those users?
Not on our end. And I can just go back to 4 or 5 years ago when we were working with all the different CDBG programs on what was called the taxi coupon program. I don't even know if that exists anymore in any of the programs. I think, and you're going to get me lying here, but I think they would authorize people X amount of dollar value worth of transportation on a monthly basis. And we were providing paper passes at that point in time, and it was use it and don't lose it. If somebody had 4 or 5 paper passes in their hand, they could punch a different paper pass on any given day from previous month's worth of distribution. But it's through the individual CDBG programs, how they want to go ahead and control these things going out the door.
Thank you, Joel. And sorry, just one other question. It is raining today. And so especially our unhoused population that utilize our services typically struggle with their documents getting wet, destroyed, and having to be replaced quite often, unfortunately, due to those conditions. With the paper passes they might have in their possession, in the event that those are, had been given to them, allotted to them, and they, end up in that type of situation, Is there any possible way for replacement of those as well? Would that just be to work with the cities as well on that possibly?
Yes, ma'am. I would say it would be a swap out a wrinkle broken pass for a fresh new one. I mean, that would be my opinion.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. BRX.
I'll finish my discussion talking about our new VRX route. This is through yesterday's updated ridership. We've run it 18 days. We've carried 838 passengers so far. Looking at stop by stop totals, about 67% of the ridership is in Bentonville, 33% Rogers. So you can see the breakdown there, and Bentonville's since we started is averaging 31 per day, and Rogers averaging 15 for 47 per day since we started. But this chart on the right shows how it has increased week by week. The first week we averaged 32 passengers per day. Second week, 42. Week 3 jumped to 55. And this week through yesterday, we're averaging 64. In fact, on Monday, we carried 74, 76, which was the record high so far in the first 18 days. So it's really catching on, getting good feedback about it. Drivers are saying passengers are really enjoying it and appreciate it. Then down here, it's just the top 20 bus stops. You can just see the boardings and the lightings and how popular some of the stops are throughout the route. So and that's all I got today.
All right.
And just for the Rogers and Bentonville board members, I would say our biggest challenge so far has been the last 2 days on Water Tower Road, when we had to do a complete deviation away from NWAC because of a water main break. We worked around it. We were able to deviate the route and put in a booster to connect riders to another more common pickup area that did not involve a lot of construction and everything else in there. But it has been going really, really well.
That's good to hear. Are there any more questions for Kendall?
Joe, this is Dennis here. Thank you for that comment there on the water line piece of it. And I'm assuming you knew, but I think they got the road open back up late last night, so it should be clear there.
Yes, sir. We were back on regular route this morning.
Thanks.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion on this, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you, Kendall. Next up, we have the social media update. Jeff or Erica, would you like to take this one?
Jeff, you want to do your card on the list?
Yeah, sure. So, got a few things going on. We are having, our first, blind spot awareness, event coming up on the 30th at 8th Street Market in Bentonville. That's 7 to 8:30 tonight, or that night. And I took notes of the wish for the board to be invited to such things, so I will send out an invite later on today for that. We're having, I've got a few booth fairs and stuff coming up, but the biggest thing, if I can find my notes. Well, let's see, we've got a speaking engagement for the Benton County Quorum Court on the 14th. If anybody wants to come to that, I can send out invitations for that. We've got Soul Fest coming up on May 19th, which is a Sunday. And then, bear with me. We're working on travel training with a couple different groups. The Washington County Housing Authority, that stems from a booth fair we had last week. And also with the Adult Wellness Center in Rogers. Neither one of those have solidified dates yet. We're looking at doing some more blind spot awareness campaigns at the Jones Center, at the Thaden School, at the Amazium. and also with, National Night Out, which is something that all 4 cities have with their police departments. So far, only, Bentonville Police Department has, shown interest, but, and that's coming up on August 6th. So got a few things, going on out there, but different degrees of development.
Should I go there?
Yeah.
Come on up here.
Up there, it might be easier for them to hear you.
So I know I'm so quiet, you know? Okay, so we have a lot of really cool stuff. Jeff just talked about a lot of it, and I'll just get into the other stuff. So the messaging that we had over the last 2 months is we were shining a light on the people of ORT, and we were encouraging using fixed routes because of the zero fare and then the $1.25 implementation on demand. So we were really trying to separate that messaging so that people understood that they had a zero fare option. We were really, really excited when VRX launched because we were able to give Bentonville a zero route option. That was some of the feedback that we were getting was, oh, now I have to pay, there's no $0 option. So that was some of the feedback that we were getting. And we said, we're working on something, we promise. And so it was really great to be able to deliver it in a very short time frame. And the cities were the residents were really, really excited about it. And we got a lot of feedback on our social media. And again, that messaging was, we're really trying to separate using on-demand versus using fixed routes, because a lot of, when I was engaging with the public, they said, when they think bus pass, they think fixed routes. They don't think bus pass and they think on-demand. So it was, we really, really had to, you know, kind of cut that with a scalpel so that people really understood on-demand is $1.25, and that's what the bus passes are for. Our fixed routes, you just exist, and that's, you know, what I've been telling people, like, you just exist and you stand there and you wave at our driver, and then you get to walk on our bus. There's no program that you have to sign up for. You don't need your ID. It would be really nice if you smiled at our drivers, but honestly, we just need you just got to be there, and they got to know that you're gonna ride the bus. We launched our so switching from our social media messaging to the next 2 months or this next quarter, we are going to really lean into our ambassadors and our community partners and using them as an avenue to educate our community on how to use fixed route buses, how to use on demand, but also to know that those are options. And then also using their influence in their communities to show people, hey, public transportation is for everyone. It's not just for one type of person or another type of person. So we're really leaning into our community members. And when I talk about some of the other projects that we have going on, you'll see how those ambassadors are really playing a key role in our messaging. So going on to our website, we launched our e-commerce site. That was really, really fun on my end. Thank you so much for that project. You know, like Joel said, and you know, like some of the board members and community members saw, we had some hiccups as far as communication and how to get those and how we can get them quicker. And one really great thing that came from the feedback that we received online on social media, outside of just our ambassadors just kind of going to bat for us when people were upset about using $1.25 and why do I have to pay? And our ambassadors are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is why, because our ambassadors were trained here on how we're funded and how we work and how all of us kind of have a part to play. And so instead of us going to defending ourselves, we had our community members defending us online. And that actually changed the whole conversation from being something incredibly negative to something positive, where people are now saying, well, it's only $1.25, or, oh, it's only this. And then if we were able to, you know, shift that narrative fairly quickly, and I 100% attribute that to our ambassadors feeling confident enough to speak on our behalf and to kind of go back and forth and reframe those conversations. One takeaway that I got from it was actually the e-pass that we launched right in the middle of, it was probably a week and a half after we launched selling the paper passes. We actually launched the e-pass based on one of those conversations where they were going back and forth, and then they were like, you know what, okay, fine, we get it, we're gonna pay $1.25, but can you make it easier? And we were like, actually we can, and that is an excellent idea, and thank you so much, and do you want to be an ambassador? And invited them to our ambassador program. So it's been a very positive experience on social media, and honestly, when you're launching anything, when it comes from people not paying to having the people pay, it's a very delicate transition, and I'm really excited about how the public was able to receive that information and the feedback that we're getting from that. You'll see on our analytics for the website that I have it on backwards here. I'll update it and send it to everybody. The new visitors are actually outpacing our returning visitors. And that has a lot to do with the new route and people trying to learn how to use, and focusing more on fixed route because it is the $0 option. So if you, the analytics where it shows that our homepage is the #1, which is fair because it's our homepage on Google, you know, when you click on it. But if you look at our top 3 pages, and it didn't show the third one, so I typed it out here. The first 2 are fixed routes. So they're trying to look at our schedules and they're trying to understand it. But then the 4th most popular page, or technically the 3rd most popular page, is our on-demand page. So people are looking at our pages to learn how to use our routes. And that's also going in to the feedback that we're getting on, not on social media, on our actual website. Since we launched the live chat option, I've been able to have some really great conversations with people that are from California, but they have family here. They're from Texas and they have family here. And they're saying, or, you know, all over Northwest Arkansas as well, where, oh, my daughter wants to do this, and is this $0? And even though it says $0 and everything says $0 for fixed route, they just want somebody to tell them. And so having that live option of saying, yes, our fixed routes are $0, they just have to go there and they have to be over the age of 12. It gives a lot of the parents that extra confidence to say, okay, you can take the bus, I'm walking you to the bus. Or honestly, just telling their kid, no, you can't take Uber, take the bus. And so it's giving them that confidence and that option, and they're able to see us as an option. And then when I talk to people that are from California and from Texas, and I say, okay, this is how you use it, and then they ask me a question and we go back and forth, and then we do route trip planning together, and they send that to their family member, and their family members are able to get to work and get to school with confidence, especially if there's a language barrier there. So really, really excited about that as well. And our searches have grown over the last 30 days from the previous 30 days. So we've increased 370% or 370 new searches. So really excited. Our marketing material, like Jeff had just mentioned, we have, you can see it on the very last page, but I'll give you a brief overview. We have a new quick facts that we actually went out and we passed out to apartment complexes. And again, I'll go into that later. And then we have a blind spot awareness. So that's our bike, bus, and pedestrian safety workshop that Jeff also mentioned. And that is with Trailblazers. So we were able to get them some marketing material, get them some fly sheets so that they can pass it out to their community. And then we also launched a new QR code so that our community can scan that. And that is on our actual, that's on our new marketing materials, but it's also on our new commercial that we have going out. And shout out to Zachary, thank you so much for going to that. And they're able to scan it, and then all of our links pop up. So when you scan the QR code, it's also there at the very back. It'll show up our on-demand app, and then it'll automatically see if you're an Android user or if you're an Apple user. And it does the same thing for Passio Go, and it does our website, and then it connects them on our social media pages. We're currently on hold with our multimodal map that overlays our transit zones with our greenway, and that's because we don't have a public facing platform for that just yet. The way we did it, it's only for us, and so we have to try to figure out how to be able to get that information to the public, and that's going to take some more programming on the back end. And so we have a current pause on that, but we're still trying to launch that before the summer, because I'll get into that in a second, but we have some new community partners that are going to be launching. So we in Q2, we're going to be launching new social media ads in all 4 servicing cities, but I just realized I spelled something wrong. But we are going to be really focusing on the Bentonville and Rogers area because of the new route. And then we're going to be pursuing radio ads, and we'll be continuing our TV ads. And those TV ads will run at 50-50. So we have 50% branding, 50%, and then the other 50% is actually going to be now hiring, because we want to continue that momentum. Okay, so our emails, as mentioned before, every time we have a blog that goes out, we send an email that goes out as well. And then to just discuss our communications, we had a lot of communications about, is there a $0 option? And then, as I mentioned earlier, we were able to give those options to them. One really great thing that we added to that is when people come to us and say, hey, why aren't you in this city? Why aren't you in that city? We direct them to our website, and they can actually click an option that says add my city. And so now we're able to separate those based on what the residents are wanting. And the trend right now is Centerton residents are the ones that are saying, okay, we want transit, and we're able to have that data for, going forward, if we're looking to grow in different communities. As I mentioned earlier, our planned messaging previously was our team, our bus cleanliness and community resources. And over the next few months, we're gonna be shifting to education, Passio Go, using fixed routes, and then our bike, bus, and pedestrian safety workshops while using our ambassadors as our influencers in the community. And so some of our community meetings, we had, and I don't have it here, when I send an update with the non-spelling error, I'll send this as well. And this is, we actually met with the Walton Foundation and we met with their marketing team because they want us to do a media pitch to national news outlets for magazines, newspapers, and TV on what we're doing here at ORT because they're really excited about it. So we had that really great meeting and we were able to connect with multiple team members like Lakeisha and Jeff, and then connect to our community, so our ambassadors, and they've already had meetings with our ambassadors about the programs that we're doing and how we're helping the community. And so they're looking to create a packet and then pitch that to, again, national media outlets. We also, like Jeff had mentioned, we are launching our bike and bus and pedestrian workshop. We've taken the next steps with the Marshallese community and we actually went to one of their resource fairs. We had a booth there. We had really great conversations with everybody. And then they're currently in the process, and hopefully I get it tomorrow. I'm very excited about it. And I know everybody here will be very excited about it, to get our marketing materials translated in Marshallese. And so we're gonna start doing that more regularly. And then as long as we get those 2 pages as mentioned with the translation, that should give us enough to do a landing page. And that landing page is gonna be very important because then they can automatically send that to their community and it'll say ozark.org/Marshallese, and all of that will be in Marshallese, and it'll have the quick guides, it'll have marketing materials. That way they feel like they're part of our community because they are part of our community. And then we're also gonna do the same thing for Spanish. That way our communities can get that information out there quicker and more concise. That came from an ambassador. So that connection was one of our ambassadors. This next connection was also an ambassador. I was invited to be a speaker at the Greater Bentonville Chamber for the Women's Business Conference. And ORT will actually be the nonprofit of Spotlight. So that we'll be able to talk to everybody about public transportation and how we're connecting our community. So really, really grateful for that opportunity. And again, they came to our ambassador event and the Greater Bentonville Chamber is one of our ambassadors. Another one of our ambassadors is UAMS. Last quarter, we talked about growing that community and that connectivity and access with healthcare and using public transportation as that avenue. And so we were recently invited to be on the Health Equity and Access Community Advisory Board. And we went to that, and one takeaway from that was everybody wanted to talk to ORT. We were the belle of the ball. It wasn't all positive, but we were able to answer questions. And so by the end of it, everybody was very excited to have Ozark Regional Transit there, to have us represented in the community. And then also at their next meeting, they're gonna dedicate 30 minutes for just Q&A for public transportation and how we can stay connected with those community services. And then Tyson, so another ambassador, we were able to engage with their team members at the Fayetteville Library event, and Fayetteville Library is an ambassador. And now we have scheduled transit training at their facilities, the same way we have with UAMS, and I forgot to add that. We have about 7 transit and ambassador training events scheduled for the next couple of months, so May going into June, and now our only events available space for our ambassadors would be July and August. So all these organizations are really jumping on board, and they're also excited to learn about public transportation. And so going into multimodal, we recently participated in Lane Shift, and I was able to learn a little bit more about the cycling and the biking community in a way that I hadn't seen it before. And I was really going into it to learn the POV of the people that are outside the bus and how they look at public transportation. And these were people from all over, organizations from all over the United States. And the one thing that they took from it was, why aren't we talking to our public transportation? Why isn't our public transportation talking to us? And so that just reinforces the fact that our organization is doing some really great things by reaching out to multiple community members to stay connected, because at the very end of the day, public transportation is connecting people with people and connecting our community. So really reinforcing that connectivity that we're doing, and all of these projects are really, really working. The Rogers and Bentonville BRX route, from a brainstorming session, we decided to go to the larger apartment complexes and talk to their front office, and we gave them quick guides, we gave them route maps that are on the BRX route, and they're gonna start putting them in welcome packets and encouraging their residents to use those bus stops. So they're gonna start designing some marketing materials for us for their location. So really, really excited about that. And then the Bentonville Library, they're currently in the process of hiring a new marketing manager or marketing director. And so we're on hold with them, but they're our next wave of ambassadors is gonna be going north a little bit more into Bentonville and Rogers. So we completed a lot of really great events. We had the U of A Fashion and Transportation event. And then we had a really great roundtable event where you'll see the photos at the very, very bottom, where we had multiple community members come here and they spent 3 hours. They gave us all of this information. A lot of it was actionable. And one really, really great thing about that is they have followed up, they have taken projects on their own, and they have decided that they also need to be part of this. If they're gonna, if they're gonna have an issue with something that if we're not a part of a community, they wanna be that connecting force to it. And that's how we were able to connect with the Marshallese community so quickly, UAMS very quickly. And so really, really excited about those projects. And then one really great thing that we're doing right now is now monthly, we were invited. And again, another ambassador, Northwest Arkansas Food Bank. They asked us to come to go to one of their food banks. We went to Feed Rogers yesterday. We set up a booth. We're gonna go there every single month. Each of us are gonna go and talk to the community. And it was so beautiful because their facilities are amazing and they treat everybody with such respect and dignity. And they walked in, they came and they talked to us and they were so excited about the BRX route. Because the first thing they asked was, do I have to sign up? Do you need my income? Like Joel was saying. And we said, no, you just have to exist. There is no barrier here for transportation. You just walk on our bus. So they took route maps, they asked us questions, and they're really excited to go to downtown Rogers and check out the Butterfly Garden and the Bentonville Community Center to go swimming and take their kids there. So that was a really, really great connection. And then, as I mentioned, our ambassadors, we have multiple programs that are happening right now. We have Goodwill, UAMS, and the Tyson facilities, and we have some other pending stuff happening for for July and August. That's it. Please let me know if I missed something or your questions.
Okay, I don't hear any other questions. Thank you, Jeff and Erica. That was a lot of good information. Next up, we have an open discussion on transit successes and opportunities in our communities. Does anybody want to chime in on this one?
I just wanted to ask the question, with respect to the change in, going from fare free to charging a fare on demand transit. This is to Joel and staff. I mean, it is how is it, in y'all's opinion, how is it going thus far? I mean, I know it's early and, we don't want to make any knee-jerk additional changes yet, but is it going as we had hoped? Are we seeing acceptable rides in the range that we want to see now? Just, a little more commentary on other things maybe you're thinking about that we should be thinking about as we continue to, manage this. I realize it has pain points. And we're trying our best to be sensitive to those, but just, kind of curious, is the gain worth the pain, I guess, initially from your perspective?
So I will say one of the pain points that immediately reduced was the almost hateful email trails that came in about how stupid we would be as human beings to put on-demand transit out there and somebody having to sit there on their phone for a half hour to an hour attempting to schedule a trip that never manifested itself. And some of those emails really were pretty harsh. about just how we were mismanaging, and they would want to complain, whether it's to the state or the feds, about how we were mismanaging transit. We weren't mismanaging transit. There was just so many people attempting to get on these particular $0 Ubers. And what it did was it was an immediate reduction in my direct response emails went from attempting to manage people's frustration over not being able to utilize it to guiding them through how to use their debit card, credit card, order a pass, get a pass, that type of thing. It's a complete shift in mentality. And I will say that I don't believe I've responded in the last 3 weeks to an email telling us how horrible we are because we have a service out there that they cannot be using. So it was a relief on our end in dealing with upset customers. When it comes to, again, the seat unavailables, which was in the 30s and 40s percentile, depending on what day of the week it is, especially in Fayetteville and Springdale, that has dropped down to 4 and 6%. We got capacity to grow new passengers now, or as we'll talk about in a separate sidebar meeting after the board meeting between Springdale and Fayetteville and anybody else that wants to join, we'll send out an email, a Zoom meeting request about creating a true intercity route between Springdale and Fayetteville like we did in Rogers and Bentonville. And how we change some of our assets and what we do there. But I personally believe that by putting a charge on the on-demand transit, it has done a couple of really good things. Number one, it has calmed some people's anger towards us and has given them another opportunity to go ahead and shift. Like Erica said, we added the VRX between Bentonville and Rogers, and we've given them that alternative to go ahead and use something that is zero charge, and that is proving itself by steady growth over the last 3.5, 4 weeks. I think we've done a smart thing, and also at the same time have calmed any of our political leaders' concerns that we're giving everything away for free. There is a charge associated with on-demand transit, and the fixed route is still $0 at the fare box. That right there, $0 at the fare box, does a lot of things for us, including keeping transit on time, because we don't have people at the fare box digging for lost fare media, and it keeps those fights at the fare box away from the driver. That's truly one of the big things for me, is keeping our drivers safe. So I hope that answers your question, sir.
Yeah, it does. That's helpful. I hadn't even realized. I mean, I knew we had a high number of rides that we were unable to fulfill the requests for, but I did not realize how many unhappy customers that was leading to, and what a customer service challenge that was for you all. So I appreciate that.
Multiple
perspective. And yeah, appreciate you guys, just keeping your eye on it and keeping us informed as this, still early, as this continues to evolve and we manage it going forward. I want to keep a willingness to try to be as nimble as we can with, other tweaks that we may want to look at. But I'm pleased with the results and happy to hear that the customer service aspect has improved, it sounds like, significantly.
Yes, sir.
And I forgot to add on the fixed route ridership. I was gonna mention that in February, the fixed routes were averaging 688 passengers a day. In March, it jumped up to 709 passengers per day. And in April, of course, with the new VRX route, averaging now 60-something, it's up to over 801 passengers a day. So some of the on-demand ridership may have converted over to the zero fare fixed route, because the fixed routes are increasing over the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, which I think is exactly what we want for those riders that fixed route works for. We want them on that fixed route and reserve that on-demand service and capacity for those that fixed route doesn't work for.
that was gonna be my question too, because from what we've seen in our heat maps with the on-demand transit, a lot of stops, high density stops for on-demand are also on our fixed routes. So I was gonna ask, yeah, have we seen that on-demand transit shift more into an uptick on fixed routes? But it sounds like there is beginning to see that. We are beginning to see that.
And my hope is when we get the anti-cannibalization, and the real-time GTFS data, flowing, which we're still a couple of weeks out on that, that will then also drive more of the on-demand trips to the fixed route. Because what it will do is when I open up my VIA to attempt to schedule a trip, it will say, oh, there's a fixed route bus coming by you in the next X amount of minutes that is $0, and it can take you to your destination. So I mean, I've coined it as the anti-cannibalization software or platform, because it allows us not to cannibalize fixed route trips into the on-demand transit.
Okay. Any more discussion items here? If not, we will move to the executive director's report. Joel?
And to stay on the software conversation, I was challenged by the city of Bentonville City Council when we started doing the BRX on how can we get a one-stop shop for all the information that we have for both on-demand transit and fixed route. And one of the things that I think I brought it up about a year or so ago, the transit app. And the transit app is it is just that. It is all modes of moving around your community, buried in one app that can actually tell you how much your Uber ride would be if you took it, or your fixed route ride would be if you took it, or when your next available on-demand trip is going to be available to you, or where the nearest bike share is, or where the nearest scooter share is, and what bike lanes are open and which ones look like what. I mean, this thing is, I don't want to say it's God's gift to transit technology, but they've done a really, really good job of incorporating all aspects of moving around outside of a car. Even they actually will do the car share programs also. But this transit app, we've got a short minute and a half video. I sent everybody out the slide deck and a 27-page transit app catalog for Ozark Regional Transit for you to review. There's no decisions that I'm asking for on this. I just want everybody to take a look at it and tell me over the next period of time what you feel is adequate for you to digest this information. If this is something you want me to continue to pursue, I'll tell you right up front, for us to be part of the transit app, it's a $36,000 a year cost. For us to incorporate on-demand transit and everything else, there's another $18,000 minimum. If we get over 50 vehicles, it's $360 a vehicle per year. So we're looking at 36 and 18 is $54,000 a year that we would have to program into our software to make sure that we can do this. And I would not program it in until 2025. Because this is a heck of a chunk to program in mid-year, but it's something we can move forward on if you direct me to over the next few months. But I wanted to get this information in your hands, let you know that yes, it does exist. And Kendall's going to go ahead and run a quick video, minute 36 seconds. So go ahead. So again, I just wanted to give you a quick introduction to it. I sent everybody a lot of information to go ahead and review, with additional links. And if you would, please take a look at it over the next, whatever you deem is period of time long enough to say yes or no. We'll take the collective, direction and, either push on with it over the next, few months, or drop it if you don't feel that this is something that Northwest Arkansas would benefit from. But the one thing I do like about it is we can integrate our trails, our bicycle trails, on street and off street. We can integrate Uber and Lyft, and they have when you look at the Transit app website, they already have some certain partners for bicycles and scooters. And they said, yes, they can incorporate other bicycle and scooter companies depending on who you're using in Northwest Arkansas. If the other bicycle and scooter companies will allow their information to be shared. So this would be a one-stop shop for, I want to get from point A to point B, and these are all the options available to me. Concerns?
One recommendation I have is it looks like they've contracted with over 100 agencies. Is there any way we could reach out to a couple of those just to get their thoughts on it and, you know, if they recommend this app or not?
Got it. I will.
Hey Joel, this is Tristan. One question that I had, and you don't necessarily have to answer it right now, but is how is the mapping updated when, you know, the need arises? Because in Springdale in particular, we're putting down so many bike lanes and trails and stuff that I think it'll be pretty common that we'll need to make sure that those maps are accurate. And so I would just be curious to see if like that's something that you guys could do internally, and Ryan and I could send that to you anytime it's needed, or how that would work.
I'll ask that question.
So, I think, yeah, getting some testimony or some references from some other transit agencies, definitely a good idea. Appreciate that suggestion. I really like the concept of integrating the fixed route and the on-demand into one app. It's always felt super clunky to me having those on two separate systems. So 100% like and support that idea. I think, you know, we obviously, right now we have not Via. No, I just was looking at it. What's the one we use right now for Passio Go? We use Passio Go, and it has Razorback and Ozark Regional Transit. So anything we switch to, I think we want to make sure Razorback is on board.
Agreed.
As well. And I guess the thing the high level question or just concern I would have is, you know, that this app, and maybe there's others like it that, you know, claim to provide sort of kitchen sink transit service, like, you know, all the different kinds of things. Worries me just a little bit that, you know, that they're able to do all of that really well. For me, I think the priority, you know, focus is we want to do the transit piece really, really well. Again, that integration of on-demand and fixed route is the critical, I think, focus. So, you know, to me, it would make sense to compare and contrast. Are there others that can do this as well? You know, which ones really their bread and butter are the transit piece. I think the scooters and the trails and everything else is great. But having the transit being bulletproof, I think is the most important component from my perspective.
Yes, sir. Nothing else on that. I just want to reiterate that the discussion continues on the federal share split, both as it comes to the region and between the member cities at Ozark Regional Transit. Barring anything that you guys might say, I think Ms. Foster with Enemisha Consulting has been doing a very, very good job. And I think that the conversations have been productive. Does anybody have anything that they want to add to that at this point in time? Hearing nothing, I'll go on to the next opportunity. Annually, you give me the authority to go ahead and apply for whatever grants are necessary to keep Ozark Regional Transit functioning, but I want to get your blessing on a 5339 grant that closes out today. I've got everything prepped and ready to go. Basically what we would be doing is we'd be looking at purchasing 8 new rehabbed low floor transit buses. The reason I looked at this approach is first and foremost availability. There's one company that does rehabilitation of buses in the US, and they buy old chassis from transit agencies, and they can either just flip the chassis and with a new paint job and get it out the door, or they can do a complete rehabilitation. The state of Washington Department of Enterprise, I think is what their purchasing department is called, has gone ahead and done a multi-year contract. They've vetted it, they've done the bid process, the procurement process, and they are allowing other people to work off of their contracting documents with CCW, and that is Custom Coach Works out of California. CCW can get a completely rehabbed, rebuilt engine, transmission, electronics, paint jobs, seats updated, everything that almost looks like a brand new bus, except for the chassis is from 2008 to 2012, somewhere in there, that range. Everything fully functional for right around $340,000 per unit. A new bus like size coming out of the manufacturers are in the $500,000 to $600,000 per unit. So there's a significant savings there by going with something that's, I will call it being recycled, is the best way I can describe it. What happens with old buses, they have a tendency to get chopped up in landfill, cut up and recycled in other things, but there's a lot of materials like the fiberglass bodies that have no other purpose on this earth other than to just fill up a void in the ground. And by looking at something like this as an alternative, we also save time. To get buses from CCW, we're looking at 6 to 8 months versus 12 to 18 months from the manufacturer on a brand new vehicle. And they do have a 1-year warranty on their rebuilt parts. They're a good service organization, and these are buses that have been out there, met their useful life, and somehow CCW has bought them to an auction or whatever. But then they got them sitting, waiting to go ahead and be rehabilitated. They're right around $340,000 per unit. The request for this project would be $3.2 million with 2.56 coming from the federal government and $640,000 in local match. Local match could be the accumulation of previous year's budget, favorable balances supplemented with a local grant that I would request from our partners to the north. I'm green light go on this if you say yes. And it's a great opportunity for us to go ahead and get some new buses to us in the fleet so that we can continue to grow the fixed route portion of our endeavors here in Northwest Arkansas. Questions or concerns?
You said these are fixed route. What passenger capacity are these buses, Joel?
We can configure them between 22 and 28 seated, with additional 20 standing room. I like the lower seated because the lower seated is the perimeter seating, which I like, which opens up the center so that we can put more bicycles on board. As we see the need for more bicycles and different types of bicycles to get on board. It's not the aisle stadium seating, it's the circular seating around the perimeter like we have.
Okay.
So Joel, I think you said all of these buses would have a 1-year warranty on them. After that warranty expires, do you foresee any maintenance hassles with these, or are they generally in pretty good condition?
These are in really good condition because the transmission of choice is Allison, the engine of choice is Cummins ISL, which are all, they have the 1-year rebuild warranty on them. They will go for 300,000 miles. We have the capacity to go ahead and work on the Allison/Cummins engine transmission combination. Anything that goes on with them, we have that capability of doing it. And then, of course, there's the Meritor axles that are up underneath them, and the cooling systems are R1234Y, I believe, which is the latest in cooling systems.
Okay.
But if I have the green light, again, you guys gave me the green light in the beginning of the year to go ahead and file for local grants, but I just want to make sure that you know that this, or not local grant, local, state and federal grants, but that you know that this is one of them going out the door, and a green light from you means a whole heck of a lot.
Is there anybody against Joel pursuing this grant application? Okay, hearing none, it sounds like you got the green light from us.
Sure. I will say one of the things that if we ever have a stressful time around here at Ozark Regional Transit, is when triennial review time comes up on us, and it is up on us. The hours that we've got invested into this is in the hundreds of just preparing, getting things ready for, making sure we understand the questions that are being asked of us. We're within that timeline of having everything presented to them, and the reviewers will be here on the 7th and 8th of May. We've got really a day and a half worth of them taking a look at everything that we've got going on, from drawdowns to maintenance and everything in between. So it is just a lot of prep work that is going on to make sure that this thing goes off without a hitch as much as possible. Ryan, at some point in time, you'll be getting letters regarding this as the board chair, so everything should be directed to you. If anybody wants to join us on the 7th and 8th for a day of auditing, you're more than welcome to come on down and see what the heck is going on with everything. And then it's at the same time, National Transit Database is our annual submission of everything that we've done. That is due on the 30th of this month. And we are, I would say, 80% of the way complete with that. We've got a couple of things we've got to do. I think a few things left in safety, transit asset management, and maybe a little bit of finance.
Yeah, I'm still double checking all my numbers and everything.
So
correct.
This is another one of those programs that we put 100 man hours into to make sure that it gets done. So this on top of NTD NTD on the top of the triennial review at the same time. And I say, this is probably one of the more stressful times because everything comes at the same time and it all has deadlines that overlap each other. But we're making it happen. We've got a hell of a team here that really knows what they're doing, and we're getting things done. So they are much appreciated. Outside of that, we've got the triennial on-site review on the 7th and 8th. Again, please join us if you're bored. We've got the executive committee scheduled for May 23rd, closed for Memorial Day on May 27th, all services, and regular board meeting on June 27th. And I will make just one comment about Memorial Day. I look forward to the time where we are a 24/7 operation. That's all I have.
Okay, and Joel, if anything else comes up event wise between now and the next board meeting, feel free to send us calendar invites for those.
Yes, sir.
All right, does anybody else have any comments they'd like to make at this time before we adjourn? Yes, Tim?
Yes, sir. Tim's got something in the back.
In July of 2023, we got the Areas of Persistent Poverty Bus Stop Enhancement Grant from FTA. ORT is providing part of the match. Razorback is providing part of the match. This grant is for design and engineering work toward bus stop improvements. We are going through procurement of the firm that's gonna do that work. So I just wanna put it on everybody's radar that you will be hearing from me or Joel or somebody to help participate in this process. You guys have your bus stop improvement plan. I would expect that to be a resource in identifying some of the stops selected for the design and engineering work. But that'll be something that we need help with and that we want input on. So just putting that on folks' radar.
And one final comment from me, everybody from Springdale and Fayetteville will be getting, within about 10 minutes, a Zoom invite to talk about Fayetteville Springdale Connector. Does anybody that's not in Springdale and or Fayetteville want to join us? If you do, send me a text. We'll include you. If you don't, have a great couple of weeks. See you guys soon.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Outstanding work. And if there's no other comments, then I hereby adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.